So, coming fresh out of high school, I had a small friend group, and one of these kids ended up staying in our little small town while we all adventured out, went to college, or just left the nest. We're going to call him Ron for, privacy reasons, but Ron stayed and worked at the local Five Guys. Hashtag not sponsored. He was a janitor, I believe, and then he moved up to the fry station or cashier first. He hopped back between both of them because when we would go back in, he would take our orders and then he would go on fry station and we would, get a free thing of fries or whatever. A couple months in, he actually got promoted to a shift manager. So essentially, I don't know if anyone has actually worked as a cashier or in some small cafe businesses, but when you are a shift manager, you're not really a manager. You're just like a supervisor. It's a nice little pin cushion of, hey, I'm going to allow you to train other people and I'm going to give you an extra 50 cents for it. Come in. We trust you. Maybe you can have a free fry or two. I don't know. But he was the shift manager for a couple of months. I think it was almost like a year or two before this offer of being a manager hit him. But for those 2-ish years, he was extremely happy. And I have a point, so don't click off right now. I have a point. Basically, once he gotten to be a manager, he hated his life. He looked 5 years older. He didn't like to hang out. He just started smoking, vaping. He wanted to pay his bills. And it was detrimental to his mental health, just being a manager. It kind of was that cliche guy with no life experience, guy with no dream or goal in life is just working at a fast food place, flipping burgers, telling people what to do, and it's just miserable with his life. Listen, we all live in the rat race. Personally, me, I wake up and I go to work. And is it the worst job in the world? Absolutely not. I genuinely kind of really do love my job. It's one of the best jobs that I've had that doesn't require a degree. I get paid pretty decently, but the economy still is squeezing everyone in. I'm even feeling it. I have that job and a second job as well. And I'm really feeling the economy. But even though that we're going through a recession or whatever, going online is still as toxic as it ever has been. I mean, I was just online the other day and what comes up on my feed? Eat the rich or start your own business or all of these streamers just making your yearly salary in a week or two. It kind of makes you feel less than to a certain point. Now, I don't want to tell everybody that, oh, I hate rich people, because truly I genuinely don't. But when you've just come back from a 12-hour shift in a day, and I'm not really super tired, but you're still kind of, wanting to zone out and chill out, and then you go on your feed and you go on TikTok or you go on Instagram, which is so toxic, and all you see is people, in the best cars or with the lifestyle that you want. You start to really just look yourself in the mirror and you're like, am I even doing enough? And the question is, you probably are. You're probably doing a lot more than what these people online are showing you. Honestly, the best way for me to remain sane at a certain point is to just believe that all of these people are LARPing. They're lying to me. They're lying to you. They're doing it for views. And for the most part, it is true. The main point that I really want to get into in this video is this sort of victim mentality. It's properly called victim mentality, but I think the real theory is a slave mentality, but I don't think I'm going to call it that for this video for, YouTube. You see, back to Ron, back to this guy who's flipping burgers. The reason why I feel like he was so miserable was because he stopped having a dream. Once he became manager, there was nothing else to work for. And because there was nothing else to work for, he just kind of accepted this shitty, mundane life that he thought he fell into. He assumed the victim in his life, the victim of the circumstances that he was put into. Instead of using the money to, I don't know, create a business or start YouTube or go to school or etc., he spent the money on video games and short-term pleasures. Ultimately, he started to really dislike his life because he didn't have a goal. He didn't have something that he was working towards. He didn't have a skill. All it was go to work, tell people what to do, get fed some poop food, because you can't eat burgers and french fries every single day and not expect to feel like crap. No gym routine, no nothing. He just assumed that, you know what, because I didn't go to college like the rest of my friends, I'm going to end up a loser. And that's the reason why after 3 years of working at the first job that he's ever gotten outside of high school, he looks 10 years older. Now, I don't want to knock on my friend like that, even though I kind of already did. I honestly, truly think that he just needs a little bit of help and guidance in the world. And I don't think that just because you don't come from a rich family or a family that can push you into college, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to not have a victim mentality. I know a bunch of kids that have come from decently financially supportive families, I don't know, and they just hate themselves. They have expectations put on them to be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer, and they don't actually want to do those things. When you are forced and you have all these expectations that your parents put onto you, and you go through your own parents' divorce or et cetera, your own struggle, you perceive your life as something that is being taken away from you. And that essentially is the slave mentality. That essentially is the victim mentality. My main point, most people have a victim mentality, not a victor. Being a victim makes you feel safe. You live the same day over and over and over again. You wake up, you go to work, you be friendly and fake. Then you go home, you play video games, you talk to your friend online, you might kiss your partner. Saturday and Sundays is just filled with things that you wanted to do so badly that you convinced your mind that you couldn't do after work. So maybe you go to the gym, or maybe you go to the game, or maybe you have a date, etc., etc. Besides Ron, who had a victim mentality, there was another person in my family that also exhibited this type of mentality. I'm going to call her C, again, just to keep her privacy. C had the worst form of victim mentality that I've ever known, worse than Ron. Any day that had one miss up, one thing that could have gone wrong, destroyed her entire day. Apparently, she went through a toxic relationship in the past and it left with a heavy scar. She hasn't gotten really close, especially romantically. I mean, she does have a partner, but she hasn't really gotten close with anyone platonically for a couple of months, couple of years, just because of this situation that happened to her. She's using her past to assume the victim. Now that I've gone through X, I have to be like Y. You're using your trauma in order to conform this persona of somebody who's just someone who just can't have a good life. One thing shouldn't make you hate your life. It shouldn't prevent you from having good relationships, from having good goals, from having good hobbies, from going out and meeting new people, but it does. I think people would rather be a slave than a master. They would rather assume the victim mentality than the victor. They'd rather have circumstances serve and define them than to define themselves and have circumstances change for the better. I mean, it's easier to let the past hold you back from your dreams, to blame someone who hurt you for the reason why you hurt others, and to watch motivational videos instead of working on yourself. I get it. You know, you can't really change everything, not overnight, not in a year. You've been in a household that taught you this, or maybe they didn't teach you it, and that's exactly why you're going through it. There's some people that go through trauma or struggle where their parents don't teach them how to respect themselves, and they end up in a traumatic or abusive, or it doesn't have to be super crazy, but it's just a toxic relationship, a toxic friendship that completely warps their mind on the way reality is. They don't believe in themselves. And I get it. You and I, we both need our job, even though it might not be the dream one. Even if I do have a plan of, hey, I'm going to do this for my physical body, and I'm going to do this for my mental, my brain, or whatever, and then I'm going to do this for my emotions. I'm not going to hang around with these people. And you have this plan of being a better person. Sometimes life will still knock you down, but it's important for you to get up on the 99th time, get up on the 100th time, and not just stay down and assume that life is like this forever. Sometimes you really just have to stand still. Sometimes you really just have to let go of what you're trying to hold on to. You have to detach. And I just actually uploaded a short about detachment too. And also in my dork video, you have to just relax. You are holding on to these high expectations that if you don't reach them in a year or two, you just fail. And then you just assume and you go back again to the start. You have to be slow and consistent rather than fast and inconsistent. I think we get so caught up on who's powerful, who has the yacht and the millions, that we sometimes forget that there's a con to every lifestyle. We all work together to help each other achieve something of value. Sometimes that value happens to be money, but other times it could be fulfillment. It could be praise. The more value you give in the world, I believe the more value the world will give you.